Awesome. We are back with another episode of Sessions with Mary Jane. I'm your host, Jordan Freed, and I am most definitely fried. Just before we get into this wonderful show with our wonderful guest, who's not really a guest, she is one of the creators of this podcast and one of the OGs of Sessions with Mary Jane. I'd just like to let you know that I got a big show coming up on September 7th. So that is Sunday after this is released. It's going to be a comedy pilot being shot at Club Andromeda in Nyack, New York. And that's going to be a taped show. I'm going to be doing 25 to 30 minutes. So I would love to see you come out to that. So definitely check that out, September 7th. And then the person that we're having on today and I have a show coming up on September 17th. This is going to be our third month of our residency at the Cryout Cave in Newark, New Jersey. That is our circuit break comedy variety show that has sketch, improv, stand-up comedians, musical comedy, all kinds of things. So if you're looking for a big show to come to, those are the two big ones that you should definitely come out to. If you're in Rockland, come out to the Club Andromeda show. It's on a Sunday, so like what else are you doing? I know you hate football. And then if you're looking for some fun on a Wednesday and you're looking for that late night hump action, come out to Cryout Cave on September 17th and see what we've been doing the last 3 months. But without further ado, we welcome back into the Gotham studios for the first time that she is coming to these studios, the original host of Sessions with Mary Jane, and a talented improviser, improv teacher, filmmaker, actress, former stand-up comedian, and my girlfriend, Reena Ezra.
Hi.
Welcome back to Sessions with Mary Jane.
Thank you. Yeah, it's I guess technically the second time I've been a guest. When we did not here, but when we did in an episode much earlier on. In the beginning, when I had to list, we would have challenges during it, yeah. And I was thinking about that on the way here, and I had to list all the types of flowers that I know.
That's a good
one.
Well,
asking his questions, yeah, I did a lot. I don't remember what the number was, but I
don't really remember it. I must have been high.
We were all pretty. That's why we called it Sessions with Mary Jane, because I was always, the most times probably on an edible, and everybody else had hit a bong, and What? Not today.
For the people who don't know, what is the lore behind Sessions with Mary Jane? How did the podcast get started, if you remember?
I think it was you, Brendan, and I in improviser we know from stuff from New York, her house, and we just recorded our first podcast there. Am I correct? And then we just were the first thing was to do a challenge. We had you list as many states of America as you could, and it was just, let's just have a conversation with artists, but also not artists. We've had lawyers, engineers, we've had different people. Going back, I don't even know what number episode we're on or how many we've done.
I think I'm releasing 119 today.
Yeah. So I think it was just an idea that we would just have conversations while high so that the wires in our brains could cross in unique ways and expand our minds. And then coming up with the name, I think I was just like, Sessions with Mary Jane, because Mary Jane is marijuana. Yeah.
It used to be much more of a competition show. I feel like we phased that out a little bit.
It was.
But yeah, we used to get
I don't even know. Am I supposed to? I'm not used to it being videotaped. With the video, I'm kind of like self-conscious now because we always had it audio, which I but now I'm like, I didn't look at the camera when
it's all good. That's your camera over there. Like, you could use that camera as well.
Like hot ones. This one. Tell people what you have going on.
Yeah, for sure. It's exactly like that.
But I think that's how it started.
Yeah. The main premise was we wanted to get stoned and make a podcast, or eat edibles and make a podcast.
I think that's how most of our projects started.
Yeah. And then from there we added the competition element, I think. just to be like, oh, you're
fun
stoned
thing.
now. Can you name a bunch of things?
Yeah,
Like,
keeping track of
let's
something.
keep that
while,
going and be a little icebreaker. But
Yeah.
it's kind of navigated more into being an interview podcast, and I've taken on some solo episodes to talk about things that I like talking about.
And exciting things to come.
Oh, yeah.
Exciting guests.
Definitely.
In the
We got
future.
some big guests coming in next week and the week after. So
Yeah.
I'm very excited about that. So if you're just coming back for Reena, you don't have to leave after this episode. And I'm sure Reena will be back for some of the episodes in the future.
I take my audience with me.
But yeah, just to get you back into it, what have you been up to lately in your creative life?
Things. We've been working on Circuit Break, the variety show. So the sketches, starting up improv classes again, teaching them starting the fall in September. In September it starts. So that's coming up soon.
Are those already sold out?
I don't know yet. I haven't checked, actually. I should check. But yes, it's mostly...
There might be still time. Do people still have time if this
to
is next
sign up
week?
in Rutherford?
Yeah.
I'm finding out because I think I couldn't see it online. So then I'm like checking
What's
with the person
day
who runs
for your
it.
class?
Oh gosh, I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
Don't ask me that.
Okay.
That's online. They'll know when they know.
They'll find out
I
eventually.
will say I do think it's booked already, and people are, because within the first or second day when they release it, when they post the classes, the sign up, it gets booked almost immediately, and then people are already waitlisted. And now I know people are probably waitlisted more because I capped the class at a lower number. Because I feel like last time I accepted like 16 for adults, because we hadn't divided by, it was just a whole working thing, you know, when you're trying to expose a town to more of improv or anything in the arts or that culture, and you're trying to build something from the ground up, and then you tweak things here and there, figure out things that, you know, need to just be updated, or things that aren't working, or things that I think it was a lot of people in one class who had varying degrees, varying levels, different experiences. So having to do like intros, intermediate, like beginners and advanced, and then also for kids, it was just a lot. Also, you don't get to perform as much if there's so many people. You don't get to go up and I think 10 is a good size, but even people have it as 8. People, like, all improv classes are different, especially if you have one that's specifically geared toward long form, which is what I want to teach more of. Because the short form is, we've talked about this, the short form is fun. The games they're a great introduction, but I find it the most exhilarating when you have to narratively, or if it's not, you know, if it's a montage, it's random scenes, but you have to pull a whole collection of characters, scenarios, everything together without having these limitations or rigid, like, breaks of like, oh, this game, it has this rules. You're like, no, you're now in an open world. You could do whatever you want. Your only thing is like Spokane. Okay, initial scene, people go off on different spokes. Now, you know, like montage, everything is a random assortment of scenes.
Yeah, I think
Armando is from an interview. I think that's Armando. Yeah.
yeah, usually. And I think like short form,
Harold.
like improv is really hard. Like, I would say it's one of the hardest art forms to do well in performance.
Yeah.
And I feel like short form really gives people like boundaries so that it makes the harder parts of improv easier. You know, like you have a short form
hard,
scene.
but I also think it's quite easy for some people. For certain, like, I think it is easy if you just listen. If you just open yourself up and allow yourself to be, open yourself up and allowed to be, just honestly react to things that are coming at you, be able to receive anything, be able to work with people, also not just find the funny, just find what is unique, what is clever, what's the oddity, the absurdity of this scene. I think if you do let go of any of any paranoia, anxious, like, of course I still get nervous before every show, but if you let go of certain expectations that you have, that you're like, oh, I need to get a laugh, oh, I need to be funny, I do think it is less scary for me personally than stand-up.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's an aspect to not having to memorize ahead of time.
Yeah.
You're supposed to practice improv and rehearse improv, but it's not necessarily that you're rehearsing your lines or you're rehearsing characters. You're really rehearsing the chemistry in your group, and you're rehearsing the idea of, like, I have to come up with something right now. Like, I have to be able to do that on a regular basis so that I'm able to do it.
It's training your brain. Yeah, it's training your brain, to access the A to the B to the C in an instant, to be able to assess something in a few seconds and then make a decision. Very much, thinking on your feet, which is why, everyone says it's so essential for just life in general, for corporations to be doing it, it'd be great for exercise if you're doing, a mock trial. It's great for anybody in almost any industry. Just to be ready and prepared and on your feet when needed. Also, it's just problem solving. It's just thinking on your toes. If something comes up, if a scene is like going down, I do feel some scenes can be saved, but then I'm like, if there's nothing there, if there's something that's been said in bad taste, kill it. Just move on. Kill it. Jump off. Don't spend any more time. Editing is huge. I very much love editing in scenes, but I feel like I value that more as the time I do it, and also not being locked into certain character like patterns, usual ones, like a kid, an old lady, Long Island wife, certain things that I usually gravitate toward. Just to be open and aware of, like, because I like to shapeshift in scenes, but I'm like, I don't want to dip my toes into the same waters, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I feel like the fun thing in improv is that you get to play different characters. Like, I think people have different philosophical ideas of improv. Like, I think there's some people who do believe you should do your stock characters, and there are people who have bits that they've done before and they'll bring them back because they know they work. But I've generally been in that camp where it's like, I want to do something new every time, and that is the beauty of improv, is it never will be the same.
I do love the bits for, I mean, if audience have seen you enough and then they know the people in the troupe, but for our group, there are inside jokes. Yeah, there's like somebody who'd like, Steve Boone coming on the cross like a Jesus during, if we have wedding scenes, is just like such a go-to for him now. And it's just fun. I think it's also it's fun for the group because it's our own inside joke. It's our own callbacks.
Yeah.
Bringing into other shows.
And I think, like, there are ways to keep your style throughout, like, all of your scenes, even if you're playing different characters, even if you're, like, bringing out new ideas. Steve Boone, just to keep bringing him up, because he has been on the podcast before, so we know he's wonderful.
Yeah.
And he's been a part of my improv troops now for, like, 7 years almost.
Yeah.
But one thing that's really good about Steve Boone is, like, he's oftentimes the puzzle piece. Like, he's somebody who comes onto a scene that's great, and he makes it, like, through the moon with, like, a one-liner that he just comes on.
Yeah.
He always walks on with, like, an idea that's going to be a great idea. And I think that's good. Like, you need some people.
Like a pirate.
You need people who hang back in the wings sometimes, and then you need some people who are going to carry a scene and be out there for a long time. So I think it's good to have those different types of players in your group.
He always has your back. I would say everybody I've been in a troupe with has had my back, because otherwise, why are you in a group together? But if I, like, last show... He
did have my back when I said, Santa, catch me!
Yeah,
and I jumped into his arms.
Yeah, but he didn't catch you, though. He let you fall. He, like, didn't... You startled him. I don't think he expected that you were... I love that. That's a great memory. I don't think he expected... He's just great with his wild characters, and very much captures the audience. But yeah, if I say something out of left field, like last show, saying something super inappropriate, and then he just comes up and he's like, "She does!" Like, I don't know if I could say that on here, but Yeah, it was just like a kid. I'll just say it. It's a kid character. When Brendan was like a character. Everyone who's having or celebrating his birthday, and then there was all these random kids, and he was trying to. He has a terrible relationship with his mom, and people were auditioning to be his mom, and then it was a different scene. He was just surrounded by a bunch of kids, and I just. Like one of the last ones to come up and just randomly. I also do say things in scenes so that I could just shock you and Brendan just because we're so used to each other. So I'm like, oh, what can I say right? Because I break in scenes. I will laugh sometimes. But I'm like, what can I say right now to just catch him off guard? It's not for an audience laugh. I may not even think it's funny. It's just great to derail him. I don't know. I think making people uncomfortable is also... oddly satisfying for me sometimes. But yeah,
at least when it's the main homies.
Yeah.
We would never try to make somebody
the
uncomfortable
homies.
who we don't play with a lot. But
like, yeah,
you
Brendan,
and Brendan
saying,
go way back.
I was just like, I like cock, and then Steve Boone's just like, she does. And I laughed because I didn't expect Steve to say that, but Brendan was like, what? Why are you here, child? Like, what are you doing here? And then, then that went into the finale of the show. Yeah, well, with you, I can only do sexual things with you. You playing I don't know, just any kind of character. And we're not actually doing anything sexual on the stage, but any weird... It's not like icky sexual stuff. It's just like if we making out, we don't actually, we're always fake. Just like, we don't actually do anything. But I wouldn't do that with anybody else. There's just.
Oh, that's so nice. You
welcome.
wouldn't fake make out in a scene with
No.
somebody else. I would if it came up.
Yeah,
Scandalous.
I guess it depends on the scene. Scandalous.
So wait, what was your for people who may not know, what was like your intro to improv? Because improv is it's kind of an obscure art form that not a lot of people have access to unless they're in Chicago, LA, or New York. So like,
you mean me physically being in it or seeing it for the first time?
Both. Like, what was the first time you experienced it, and then how did that translate into you doing improv?
My first time was, I think, like most people our age or excuse me, I think it was Whose Line Is It Anyway? Seeing that on TV, but not understanding what it was. And then realizing later, oh, that's short form. Oh, there are these games, but they're so brilliant. And the fact that I knew it was unscripted and everything's made up and whatever. I remember seeing an improv group, Second City, on a Norwegian cruise line when I was with my family years ago. And that was, I think, the first time seeing it live in person and being like, what? Who are these people? What is this? What is Second City? Oh my God. I was much younger, but and I think theirs was also short form because that is the easiest to do for people. Only now when you had Middleditch and Schwartz and you have Schwartz and Friends, like what he's doing on Netflix, and now we saw him like doing the show, has long form become more popular outside of New York City. Like other towns, other people are getting exposed to it, and now it's being televised rather than it was just short form dominated for a lot of the time. So seeing that live on the cruise ship, and then it was college, which was so late because even seeing it live, I never thought it was accessible. That's how I am. Growing up, that was just my brain where I'm like, oh, I never even thought that was a thing you could do. Oh, how do people do that? Where do you go? How do you whatever? Like I was just very underdeveloped mentally to actually chase and find those things until college. One semester, the improv class was booked, and there was a creative writing class, and I was like, because I have a love-hate relationship with writing, and I was like, I don't want to do writing, and I don't know why, I just had a severe urge where I was like, I need to be in this class, I need to be in the improv class. So I called the administration, I kept trying. I'm like, please, is there any way, I am like currently waitlisted, any way we can make sure I get in there for the semester, and switch out of the creative writing class before it even started. And then I got in, and best decision I've ever made. One of the best in my life because it's the people I met, and then improv technicians, shout out for NJIT, being in the improv group in college. Vince Capizzi. It's great that Sabrina came later now in our troupe to improvise, because she's brilliant. She's very fun to watch. Also having another woman in the troupe, because it's always male dominated. And before Sabrina joined, it was just me.
Well, Improv Technician had some women in it.
No, not improv. Yeah, Improv Technicians did, absolutely. Hazel, I'm forgetting the other people.
Aziza.
Huh? Aziza, yes.
I'm a big fan of Improv Technicians.
Yeah, well, they're great. It's also just a fun thing to do. I meant like currently now, that also being at Rhino Comedy, there weren't a lot of women, and I'm saying our current troupe, Junk Mail, and then when you, Brennan, and I were together making our own form, the Interdimensional with Late Night Hump, and then Junk
my troupe
Mail.
at Rhino had a lot of women.
Yeah, but mine didn't.
Yeah,
we didn't have
sure.
it was still a few. I mean, Haley Parker, great improviser. She's fantastic. Like, it's people you also meet that can edit and be, are you a robot, pirate, or ninja? And a lot of the women were ninjas, because I feel like, I don't know, they were just great support with editing, and then they could also jump in and say something wild, and then you build from there. And then they could be meticulous, and then they could, but what was the thing I was saying? Oh, so for NJT, right, going into the class, it was also the professor, Lewis Wells, just being introducing us to TJ and Dave. He loves to improv. Now in Spain, doing an incredible thing with his own theater. He just opened the doors. Like, it was just, when you also have the teacher that really knows how to fuel your creativity and really knows how to support you and really knows how they see that special thing in you, and they help you build on it, and they're very it's just such a boost. That was also it just felt like a playground, an adult playground, and you got to go out and do your own thing. And then having to, I also just studying all the long forms and practicing them and doing them, very exciting. With, maybe it's because of my neurologically, like my anxiety, and I have to constantly feel like I have to be moving, but I also feel like I have to always evolve and change or whatever. So when we did our own long form, I couldn't just stop at like the long forms that were already provided. I was like, no, what can we make up on our own? What can we form on our own? What can we do? Like, also us three, just being producers, generally, you want to put different things together. But that class was also had just a good number of women. That class was just great. It was just fantastic. I love reminiscing about it and thinking about it, and that was the spark where you're like, what? Like, it was just a feeling. It was the first class when you tried it, immediate. I would have been more discouraged if I didn't feel like I was so naturally inclined, or if I bombed the first time, because that's also how I work, and rather than keep trying and doing it. But no, it was just positive. And then later it was like, oh, this doesn't work. Oh, this is weird. Oh, I did whatever. And then doing workshops later with people who came to the school who were like, let's do improv on taboo topics. Like, how can you navigate and pivot just things that you may not be comfortable with in a scene, which I've had to do as a woman at a show when a man in a group was just making it like a sexual scene when it had nothing to do with it, making it uncomfortable. And then that's the thing the audience remembers, and they don't remember the show. So that's the thing that pisses me off the most, where I'm like, oh, I don't care about the advancements and you being weird and a creep, but now that's all I'm like, so it's how do you regain the control, the power, shift the status, and do something different in the scene. It's I think after that it was just in Suffern, New York, then just going from one. Oh, the other thing I wanted to say was, loved that Improv Technicians, we traveled for a bit, a few areas, Hartford, Steel Stacks, like festivals on the East Coast, just doing it. just
That's
doing
awesome.
long form and just doing. I'm very, very grateful that we did that. That was really, really great. Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually talking to somebody I used to work with at the Williams Center, and they were bringing up the fact that they were very big comedy fans, and I didn't really realize how big of comedy fans they were. And he was telling me that he got a medal for staying up for the entire 3 days of the Del Close Marathon.
Gosh. Yeah, I didn't even list Del Close.
Shout out Soldado Nate.
Wow.
If you guys are Rutherford people and you know Nate from Soldado.
I fell asleep.
Yeah, he made it 3 days apparently when I was talking to him.
I always need
cool.
sleep. I could never do an all-nighter as a kid, but yeah, I fell asleep. You just fall asleep in Magnet Theater. You just sit in the stands, and then you'd wake up, and then you see someone getting soaked with water and sponges on the stage, and you have no idea what's going on. And there's this group. You're like, what? It's 2-3 in the morning. And then later the next day, then you go up and you perform, and seeing the Manzukis brothers perform, seeing Amy Poehler, Bobby Moynihan with their old troops at UCB, which is why it was great that Del Close Marathon was in New York City, and it's ridiculous and doesn't make sense if you move it to LA because of geographically. Everything, you just walked around. You like the city, you're just able to walk everywhere. You're just able to it's just cool to watch other people's. It's just cool to be in that atmosphere, in that environment.
Yeah, it feels really punk rock, and it feels like making improv relevant. I know like Chris Gethard has been doing a lot of he's an improviser, and he's been doing I think he did a marathon show that was 24 hours long recently. But I think you got to create the moment. That's what performance is about, is creating a memorable moment that people want to come back for. And I feel like the Del Close Marathon is an iconic event where so many people were involved in it. I wish I was involved in it at some point before it left.
Fantastic.
And also, if you want some lore on Del Close, you can go back to our episode with Larry Hankin, who was actually the roommate of Del Close in San Francisco. So he has some nuggets of wisdom on Del Close.
That was fun. That was fun to just have him talk and just listen to his stories. Yeah,
he was a great addition to that.
Yeah. So much history. Just a wild time for him to be in the city. The 60s and 70s
definitely.
Also. Seeing, knowing about Bob Dylan in one of the clubs before Bob Dylan became Bob Dylan.
Wow.
The big personality, but that we all know, but
you are probably one of the top 10 Persian comedians. Persian American comedians that I know.
Persian American? There's a lot. No, there's definitely more than that. There was a Persian improv.
I said you're the
troupe.
top. I'm not saying there's only 10.
Oh gosh.
But what was it like growing up Persian and kind of getting into that, getting into comedy, and who were your influences, whether it was Persian comics, whether it was any type of comics, what was that like?
Well, I will say, just a side note, that the Persian improv troupe I saw, and I think it was also Del Close. I'm forgetting the name, but it was a play on Shahs of Sunset.
Oh, nice.
Which is the reality show. But yeah, I do wish I was more outgoing or tried or active with the Persian community in the city with comedy and improv and whatever, because we were doing so much, and now we're doing so much in Jersey, and back then it was just always white guys in flannel shirts and and the city girls, whatever. And I also I'm Persian, but I'm very Western. I'm very Americanized. I'm very I look Persian, but I do feel there's only now getting more and more connected to the culture. And when I was younger, definitely felt a lot more separate from it. But what was your question?
No,
comedy.
Yeah, I was just wondering if that was
Maj
any
Jobrani,
influence.
That's a big Persian stand-up. Just for Persian because there's people who've been around much longer, before me. I will say, watching those people for stand-up, yes, very easy to memorize my set, because they were all stories of being raised by a Persian father, Persian mom, Persian immigrants, how he looked at the world, the perspective, just observations of that in general. Also to cherish the culture and being a Persian Jew specifically, but not ridiculing it in any way, but just being like, yeah, this is just what it was. This is how it is. Like this, just the weird, quirky things that were also very specific. I get not quirky, but it's like, but Barry. This is always the go-to example because it's just the first one that pops into mind. But Dad saying, let's bury your baby teeth in the backyard instead of tooth fairy. And also, we lived in a condo, so it's not our land, not our yard. But yeah, stuff like that, or him being very much, just fun things to play with him. Leaving before the revolution and after, or like things that had affected his mentality, which I love. I do appreciate and am grateful for to be my outlook on the world from how I am raised. Also very hardworking. All immigrants are very hardworking. And the struggle I think there's also a lot of difficulty. There's some trauma. There's hardship, and through that it's not hilarious at the time, but you do look back and that definitely fuels your comedy, putting it into stand-up, improv. I get for anything else in comedy, that's a lot of influences from people I saw in movies and TV, though. It's very much the sketch shows. It's very much Mad TV and Living Color, anything with Jim Carrey. Honestly, and Jim Carrey's a big one. Robin Williams, his stand-up was also just being a genius and there are people who are characters and funny and had their shtick, but then there are people who you learn something from their comedy, and it was insightful and it was conversational, and I do like that aspect where I hope I'm being an entertainer and I'm not lecturing.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's important to be entertaining if you're gonna be an entertainer.
Yeah.
That's.
But also note. Like improv, especially improv, because stand up, it felt like I'm up here, you guys are seated in your seats, and there is a conversation, there's a communication, but improv is like, we're all in this together, we're all figuring out what's happening right now, and you guys are watching it unravel, but we all are unprepared at the same level. We all don't have information at the same level. We've done it improv before, we are more experienced in performing it, but we have to, take any suggestion and just go with it and make it make sense and find a personal, that's the thing too, personal meaning, the personal connection with any form of comedy. That thing is like, putting my own 2 cents, my experience, my fit, like, otherwise, why are we here? What are we doing? It's like, how does this relate to me? How does it relate to the world? How do I think about it? It's just any personal connection with it. I find it more meaningful.
For sure. I think we all have our like perspectives of the world and how we see the world, and I think like especially in improv and how you play characters, like I really like playing characters who are like secretly smart. I think that's because like I feel like
on the surface
I feel like I feel like I look a little dumb sometimes, so I'm just like, how could I like surprise people with that? Like that's one of my, I guess, stock tricks that I have in my improv repertoire.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I try to do
people
that.
Have told me, they're like, sometimes I feel like there's not a lot like happening there when Jordan comes on and he says whatever, but then he whips something out of his back pocket and you're like, that's where he's always thinking. He's always thinking about something. And I'm like, yeah. He is. You're always thinking.
Yeah, so are you though. You're also thinking all the time.
Too much. Too much. Gotta pause. Gotta pause it. Gotta clear my brain.
I don't think, I'm trying to think, maybe we've had podcasts since 100 words, but that was kind of your foray into film in a lot of
yeah.
ways. You starred in that short film, and you also wrote the script for that and produced it
with Brendan. Yeah.
With Brendan, and Brendan was the director of it, so that I was trying to keep the credits.
We wrote that together. We wrote that together during COVID, so I didn't just write it.
True. But what was that like? Your first like big film project you
in a festival?
On?
Yes.
Yeah, well, your first, because
I've always made other stuff that were like 20 minutes long, 10 minutes long.
But it was like the first time
YouTube,
where you really It was the first time you really like coordinated a crew and got real actors to be in it. So what was that experience like for you? As somebody who never went to film school, what was it like?
I like that I didn't go to film school. I wish I did, in terms so that I could understand the more technical aspects, but I learned a lot from you, which is great. I also do like editing. And that I feel is it's a very film medium, and you do have a lot of control on how the film will come out in the editing room. So that was like, appreciation and learning of that as I got older. 100 Words was, the fact that it's like a love letter to Rutherford, because also shooting it in Rutherford, it was in the summer. It's a lot of movement. It's very elements of silent film, because that is my thing. Like, I very much love, Buster Keaton. And it's only 100 words. And it's like, how much can we show what we're doing in movement and not just dialogue? It's just also, you're a great cinematographer. It was just beautiful to look at. And it was just, when you have a group of people that you work so well with and you have a trust with, you just keep working with them. That's why all other like directors work with the same crew most of the time and the same cast, because you're like, oh yeah, we can. It's always nice to like mix it up and change, and we have our network has gotten bigger, so we have more people that we've collaborated with. But it's like, that film was just such a, it was very small crew, but it was just, everybody was just game. Everybody was just up for, anything you need, whatever you want us to do, how do you do this, blah, blah, blah. Like, it was just magical. I just loved it.
What was the biggest like surprise of that process? Was there something that you thought that was harder than you expected when it started going out to festivals? Were you surprised by the response? Like, what was surprising to you about that
I
whole
wasn't
process?
surprised by this response, because I thought it was a very heartfelt, fun movie. And Garden State Film Festival was probably my favorite. Like, was the big one, where as them putting us in just a great slot, and having people who just come up after, and we're asking, are you doing another one? Are you doing an anthology series where it's like a different person in their life and they have to do something, but they only get 100 words? So the fact that audience were coming up and had ideas for the future of it, and we still haven't done any of it, but it's still a note, it's still in the back of my mind. There is stuff written where I'm just like, this would be a really good idea. The fact that people just got so attached to it, and it was so fun and colorful, and it was it was just a lot of women in the story, and it was, I think a surprise was filming it, or certain things you thought you got on camera, and then editing it. I can answer. The hardest thing were the words. So Brendan and I counted the words every time on the script. Then editing, we had to do, like, there was certain, to have continuity in certain sequences that paired up and went together and worked out and whatever, and you're like, but we filmed this thing, but it needs to look like that, we got to splice it up this way, we have to edit this, but whatever. So that was very collaborative. But that was hard, keeping track of the words and having everything be also just the action of me and the hidden train tracks in that forest, and then having to like trip and fall and we got it right in the first take, but I wanted to keep doing it because I'm like, what if it can always be better or more? But then you're like, nah, the first one was like pretty
classic Buster Keaton level, just wanting to get thrown around.
I have no problem busting my knee, get thrown around. I've been taekwondo, kickboxing. I have no problem being hit, falling, bruised, whatever. which also the next project I want to do is very much physical and fight scene and choreography, just because, I love action. The other thing was the drone, but that you were in charge of, and that was just a learning thing where it's like, oh, right, we're close to Teterboro Airport and Newark, and the drone freezing at a certain altitude, and all of our controls, everything frozen. We did not have control of it anymore, and the airport took it over and froze it, because it's like you're now in their range or whatever you call it. They're gonna try and until it was unlocked, and they were like, okay, quick, we have to stay to this level, we have to do this thing or whatever, otherwise I'll keep getting interrupted. So that was fun. Like you driving in, then it's smacking into a tree and falling, and we're like, oh fuck, and we're like hoping it didn't break. That was fun. Also, just having the drone shot track in the forest, there's a lot of new things to play with, a lot of toys, and I love playing with toys. I love playing with I also love shooting on location, shooting outside. But I understand, audio is the biggest thing. That was another, which Haley Parker was great at, but that was another one where you're like, oh yeah, there's buses, trains, there's a lot of stuff going on outside here. How do you
audio
make it sound
is hard,
crisp?
But natural lighting is great. So it's like, that's kind of the trade-off. It's like, it's amazing to not have to bring lights out to a place, and you're taking away light as opposed to putting in light.
Yeah. I do feel like if you are limited with resources and you don't have people to help you with a set, putting it together, or you don't have access to certain houses, home buildings, whatever, you need permits for things, if you can shoot something on location or you can be in the outside, great. And I do love filming. I mean, there's always the outdoor elements, but I love filming outside. Like we do a lot of stuff in summer. I want to do winter. Like I want to do people out in the snow, freezing their ass off, and then something crazy's happening, them doing it, whatever.
I will not be working on that film.
I do love the physical grueling aspects of it, because then when you're done and you see it and you're like, maybe it's maybe it's just being, I don't know, torturing myself too much. But it's last one, patience. As you know, I do not have a lot of patience.
No, definitely not.
And film, you have to be very patient, because the process of when you write something is very different how you envision it to then when you start filming it, it morphs into its own shape. Then when you're editing it, morphs again into a different shape. And then putting it out, the festival, doing this, it's just a lot of, there's waiting, there's time, everything takes time. And I'm like, I just want it to be done. I just want it to be done already. I just want it to be out, finished, like, can we, blah, blah. But yeah, that was a lot of good things getting from you. Definitely trusting you in the process, and you reassuring and I'm like, okay, no, he's right. And it came out great. Yeah. Also because I don't know a lot of the technical things. So I'm like, how do I make it look like this? And this thing does this thing and I want blah, blah. So I just try to communicate to you what I want. And then you're like, okay, I'll do this thing. And then you do it. I'm like, wow, it looks great. Yeah.
You talked a little bit earlier about your anxiety and some of your other struggles with that type of stuff. How do you think, like, your creative pursuits in comedy and film affect your mental health? Like, do you think those are a net negative, a net positive?
I think they're great. I think it's a positive thing. Having a creative outlet, it also serves as a distraction to fuel all that anxiety, stress, negative emotion elsewhere. I think it's been a benefit. I think it's been a good thing. I do feel like the anxiety is also, it can work to your benefit. You can use it. Your adrenaline, your my hyperactive ADHD, your nerves, whatever, use it in a scene. Use it before you go into a show. It keeps you wired. But yeah, that's my answer. Next.
What's your views of the New Jersey comedy scene and film scene, since you've been down? Like, you always grew up in Jersey.
Yes.
Up in Mahwah.
Bergen County.
But now you're in Rutherford, you're further down, and you've kind of seen different parts of the... but...
Yes, it is different. Yeah.
30, 40 minutes away from the top of Bergen County, so it's a different vibe.
Tippiest top.
What do you think is, like, the best thing happening in New Jersey right now for like comedy that you've been a part of or that you see coming on?
Cryout Cave in Newark, circuit recreation. The best thing, that's hard. I don't do things, by favorite, best, top of the list, whatever. But Jersey is definitely a scene that has grown so much with improv. We never used to have these many jams. The fact that Morristown Improv, Howdy Stranger, Morristown Improv's getting packed. Like they're in their Masonic temple, their jams, hours in our town, the classes, the community is just growing, and it's so delightful. It's wonderful to see, wonderful to meet more of these people who've all come from different backgrounds. But they, the improv community is growing a lot. The stand-up community is also growing a lot, and it's just more women. It's just way more women. I think Jersey has more venues and spots, indie spots that are opening up to people, which is nice. It was, a lot of things died down during COVID, but it needed a restart, and then it's been going through a renaissance. Still, competitive with New York City, or maybe not competitive in its own bubble, but still a lot of people go to New York City, but I didn't want to be in New York City in like a sea of all these other voices and people. I wanted something, Jersey's my home. I wanted something that's like, how can we build it here? How can we make sure this stays here for the long run and keeps growing? And younger kids, I never had in school growing up, there was no improv class. It's all theater. But I'm also like, I don't like theater people. Like, I don't like how these people, like, there's some theater people where I'm like, I don't like you. I don't like you.
You are a theater person, though.
I know, but it's always me thinking that I'm different and that I'm like, oh my God. Like,
Let's rehearse. We haven't done enough work for this. We need to make sure that everything is prepared. Yeah. We need to make sure that the tech run sheet is all ready to go.
Oh, yeah. I am that, yeah. Well, the sketch is the big, we have a lot of, like, friends who've done theater, and that we were talking about that backstage. We were like, yeah, we miss this. We miss the backstage chaos, coming in, switching costumes, putting the makeup on, getting out in time, knowing your cue, the intensity of the night. I also would do a play again. I miss that. Random side thought. The other thing was, for kids. So I never had access to improv when I was a kid. The fact that it's more in schools, the fact that it's more reaching, or it's just camps, it's stuff like earlier on kids have access to, is big. Yeah.
Word.
Yeah.
What is
they need that outlet.
What is it like making art with your partner?
Scurvy. Our cat, she's great. She just swats flies. She's really open to anything. She's got one eye, so she usually wants to be a pirate in sketches now. She's really lazy. She like just lays and wants belly rubs all the time, and she's just a total freaking slacker. With you, it's wonderful. I think it's harder for you to work with me than it is for me to work with you. In all honesty, I think I'm a lot. Yeah, I think I'm a lot, and I'm narcissistic, and I'm a control freak. And we're working on it. We're working on it. We're going to therapy, which is great. I feel like I am getting better at communicating. Like I said, trusting the process, being patient. It's always a work in process, always like bettering yourself. But I think because we both admire our comedy and we admire our perspectives on the world. I
think it's cool because we have very different tastes.
Yes.
Also. Yes. And that has definitely been a source of maybe good conflict in our lives.
You will write or say certain stuff, and I'm like, I don't get it.
Yeah, and I think it's good that we have different tastes, because then we could kind of get more universal ideas. And like I feel like
want to be the same.
Yeah, and I feel like we know what each other finds funny, even if that is not what we find funny or want to go into that.
Yeah, true.
Definitely knowing each other better. We're about to go into a game that you didn't know we're gonna play.
No, I didn't know we're doing a game.
So this game is called Reena or Jordan. I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and you're going to have to tell the viewers whether it is you or me.
Okay, I'm less worried about this. I got this. Go.
All right.
I'm ready. I'll just stare at the camera while saying it the whole time.
Who is funnier on stage?
Reena.
Who is funny?
Wait, sorry. In what form?
We'll just say on stage.
Oh, that's hard because I feel like our stand-up is very different, and oh god.
Be honest. Just say what comes to your head. It's improv.
I said me.
All right. Who's funnier at home?
Both of us.
It's a push.
That's hard because when you're very different at home because you're super comfortable, relaxed, and you get real goofy and you crack me up. You'll say stuff out of left field and I think it's because it's unexpected.
I could cross the
also,
lines
you're more
when the cameras
physical.
aren't on and there's no spectators.
And I like physical comedy. You're more physical at home. Like you are more, silly with your body impersonations. People like you're, that's a tie.
Who's a better cook?
You. I would say you.
Who is wait, am I already out of this? Who's cleaner?
Me. Duh, of course. I don't have to, but I feel like I have to when I reorganize your closet without his permission. I go in there and I just fix everything. And then you can't find things. And I'm like, well, it's because you're used to not being organized. But but also it is OCD. It is like my hyperactive ADHD going into full drive, where it's not a bad thing that it's uncleaning, but it has to be spick and span.
Who has a better taste in movies?
Both of us. I can't pick one.
Push.
I can't pick one because you've introduced me to a lot of obscure shit and very, very it's just enticing. That was a huge thing when we first got together, going to the movies together, just being buds and talking about film. Going on a date with a different guy before we were together, and he didn't watch movies, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that's it then. Bye, see you. I get, just because we're never gonna speak the same language, and he could be open to, you can introduce, not saying that doesn't work for people, but for me, then later he came out as a Trump supporter, so that was interesting. And then he just did a political podcast, so I'm like, I had some gut instincts there. Also, he wasn't a Jew. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Let the record show that Reena will only ever date Jews.
No. Definitely not Persians. But no, you don't have to be Jew. Although it was nice when you're, finding out you're half when we were together. So I was like, oh yeah, that's your joke. No one's like, hey, that Italian. Everyone's like, yo, that Jew. The whole thing of us, and we don't talk about a film all the time, but we talk about it a lot. And then just weird things that we watch and tap into and introduce to each other, because we talk about almost everything under the sun. But film is a big seeing Yorgos Lanthimos together, having Criterion together, and with Brendan watching Dogtooth. It goes from that. There's John Malkovich. There's old film. The only thing is you don't like westerns and you don't like black and white films. You don't like the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. 50s, terrible decade for film. But it is unfortunate that you don't watch black and white.
As much. I get bored by them sometimes. Yeah, you do. I see the value in the stories. I'll watch it. But we were watching the Jane Mansfield documentary with Mariska Hargitay. It
was great.
Telling her life
Thanks
story.
for the rec, Leah. That was great.
Yeah, Leah Russo was just on the podcast, gave us that recommendation. And that film was amazing. If you haven't seen it, it's on Max right now. But definitely watching those scenes of Jane Mansfield, I was like, well, now I want to watch these movies, even though I don't really like black and white movies. And I shouldn't say I don't like that. I'm one of the only fucking, millennials who like Citizen Kane. So it's just I like Citizen Kane, and you don't like
Citizen
that.
Kane's boring.
Yeah.
I will not
not enough guys falling down
yeah.
and getting hit by trains.
No,
like,
definitely
that's not my type of black and white. They were...
Yeah, not enough women being beat in this movie and yelling and being a damsel. Yeah.
What are some of the best movies you have watched this year? What are some recs? If somebody's trying to get into 2025 film, what is your username on Letterboxd while we're at it? You know, so people could follow you at home.
Ezra.
You're not plugging too much, but I figure you should plug your Letterboxd.
Oh, it's Reena Ezra here on Instagram. Night Hump, whatever. Reena Ezra here, yeah, on Letterboxd because it connects to your accounts or whatever.
Yeah, so we don't talk too much about movies on the podcast anymore. So I figured maybe like I used to do a movie podcast with Leah.
This wasn't from this year, but when I finally watched A Different Man, that was when you were raving about that, and I didn't, I wasn't sure how, because I try not to watch trailers, but sometimes I do. But that one blew me away. I talk about this so much. 28 years later, watch the whole series. It's great when you can watch a movie that's like Jojo Rabbit or Past Lives that has tugs at almost every heartstring, every chord in your body. It gives you almost every emotion, and it's a special experience. That's it. That was great.
Danny Boyle is like honestly a goat of our time. He's like
Sinners,
very underrated.
Sinners was a huge one.
Yeah.
From the year.
Opposite end of the spectrum, but I guess still kind of horror. Different horror genres.
Horror is the big thing. That is the thing where horror is the genre where I think creators have the most freedom at this point. It used to be you get really fun, silly. You used to go when we rewatched Idiocracy.
Yeah.
And then what was the other one? There was another one I forgot.
Bubble Boy? No, yeah, what are you?
Bubble Boy, I showed you guys that. Aged interestingly, but still fun. Go Jake Gyllenhaal.
Oh, Team America World Police. We watched a lot of Bush era comedies. Yeah.
But
peak comedy time. Some of the most offensive comedies ever.
When you could, some things really, you couldn't do that today. But when you could push the limit, or you could just do anything with your friends with comedies, and you didn't need known people, like known name, like big name celebs. Now it's horror, where it's like, oh, how are people reshaping the horror category? When Paranormal Activity came on, we didn't see anything like that. What they're doing with The Conjuring, and now it's been, how can you make a horror movie like Chainsaw Massacre, people fighting to buy the rights, which I don't know who officially bought them. When people are doing Hereditary, Ari Aster and his really messed up brain, all of that stuff coming out where you're like, oh, I've never seen Weapons, and you're like, oh, they're doing it just in a unique way. It's different. I do feel like they have more fun, and because people don't, it's not, they can make things funnier and put more comedy in there because no one's expecting it. It's a horror film. So then when you're blending genres, you could do it in a really, really wild way. But I do feel like horror is a lot of the thing people are fighting for, getting at, clashing, that is just because it's hard. Any other genre has been crushed. Drama's got to be a big, there's certain expectations for each one, but horror has been like the wild, wild west. It's been fun because people have gone in very different directions. And those films stay with you. People and people show up. The horror audience is big, always. Coming in, Weapons was packed. Sinners was packed. I don't think it's also some people who maybe they're not film buffs and don't know the directors, the producers, the studios. They don't know the names behind it, but they know, oh, this is horror. I'm going to go see it. This might be good. We don't need just a possessed girl and a doll and someone coming out of a lake or crawling up a ceiling. There's many different there's just many different ways to go about it, so that's been very fun to see. So I also
didn't really, I think when I was coming up in film, I don't think I really realized how many types of horror there are. And I think a lot of horror has shifted more into psychological and thriller. as opposed to being like body horror or creature horror. Like there are still a lot of creature horrors, and like the ones that we mentioned have that creature horror in it and very genre heavy horror. But I feel like for me, getting more into that horror that can feel realistic and doesn't feel like they're adding things. Well, even Substance
is an
is
extension. That's body horror.
Even that's a little like sci-fi horror.
But that's what I'm saying. We're getting blending of the genres.
Yeah.
Like there's something that's always dark. Yeah. But yeah, there's something, just because I feel like that's where the money is.
I think Jordan Peele and like Ari Aster kind of brought in this like realism to horror. Where it was more about like scaring you with something that could actually happen, because like I feel like a lot of horror
that's
has
sci-fi.
A little bit, like Get Out isn't necessarily sci-fi.
No, but I mean sci-fi scares me, things that can actually happen.
Yeah, for sure.
And then you're like, right, what was the thing
it's
talked
realistic,
about? Cronenberg's,
but in the future,
which we didn't watch yet, but Cronenberg's, like what people do with graves, people beyond, people who have died, and then you're trying to access them, like
that's been a hard
AI
thing for me originally with horror, was like suspending my disbelief. Like I used to watch horror to laugh at it. Like I used to watch Human Centipede as a kid and be like, this is hilarious.
No, I still get we watched Barbarian, and I'm still disturbed.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I'm so disturbed. Yeah, that was a lot. Yeah, I forgot the other thing you said. Made me think of something.
What's a movie concept or idea that you would love to see that you don't think has ever been made before?
I think everything's been made. I do think it's all just
great
different.
Answer. Thank you, Reena. You're really helping on the podcast, Miss Former Host.
Goodbye. I do think everything has been written, everything's been made, but it's like very different, what you take it, influence it, make it unique, or build on it. I'm trying to think. A concept that's never been made,
or even an actress that you want to see do something.
I would like to just
bold.
see more women being in unconventional scenarios. Like more stories. They don't have to be real, not whatever, but like, more women who don't have to be married, or don't want to have kids, go into, like, we get a lot of cult shit that's been in horror movies. Like Opus was culty.
Women love cults.
I feel like men love cults more than women. No, maybe that's not true. I don't know. I feel like you could be in a cult. You would definitely be in a cult. If somebody introduced something to you and they're like, oh, take my hand. Like, look at all these like amazing things in this field. You'd be like, go. Me, I'd be like, I'd have questions. I'd be like, ew. I would. I feel like you would be easily. Sorry, went on derailed. But I
like
feel
a little danger mystery.
You would easily be absorbed into a cult. I feel like you're more of that yes and then I'm more. I'm definitely the opposite. I think, it would be more diverse stories that we don't have enough of. More films, foreign films, I would say. More things from other countries. The only way I know what Iran looks like is by seeing it in films. More things like that, with taking real world, like lived in moments, scenarios, people like you're I don't know what it's like in certain countries. What is their,
That's also an interesting point you made about the Iranian filmmakers, because like a lot of times they're like literally hiding their films.
The gentleman who won it, did he win a Cannes, who had to put his film in a USB in a cake and brought it here? That's how he brought it here. Because it's massively censored. They have so much censorship. But there's a lot of stories that haven't, like, or when you get something like, because I think I was listening to a podcast, they were talking about Anatomy of a Fall. When I watched that, when you have something that's very different with a script, very, just also they know how to build suspense so well. That, and I would say, because I feel like the tech and AI, like, with Shia LaBeouf, Eli, like that stuff's been done before AI became a real thing.
Yeah, there's been a lot of like guessing what AI is going to be.
What would your answer be for concept that we haven't seen before? That's a tough one. I have to think about.
Well, I am a writer, so I want to keep some things a little secret because I have some things. That's one thing that I use.
I know I do have
I've
one.
used AI
but
for that, where I'm
it.
like, what are things that have never been made a movie about? Like, what are professions that there's never been a major movie about?
There is something currently happening in Paris, France, that I wrote down, but I'm not gonna say. But that I do feel like right, the form of it, you know what I'm talking about. But I do feel like that is just with our economic crisis, housing crisis, there is a direction of where that's going. But we've had, this is very different, but films with like dystopian or post-apocalyptic worlds, or like where we live. I would like stuff if there's also you live, not like Aquaman, but where we're living underwater, because that is a real thing. Like, shouldn't we be building more tunnels and avenues, like things to just survive underwater? Because water takes over land. Like, water was here before.
Ask the Jews in Brooklyn.
I mean, yeah, Miami. That's where a lot of the Jews are, and Miami will be eaten. I just feel like a lot of it is like underground cities. You know, we have like I don't know. I would probably do a film about just various different ways we have eliminating this is going to sound terrible, but the extinctions. I was going to say eliminating the human race, but extinctions.
Yeah, human extinction is very close.
Extinction.
Probably within the next 500 years or less. Yeah.
I mean, I guess we get that in Jurassic World.
Yeah.
Which like just different stuff with that.
Wow.
With I don't know, or different things. We already got. I'm just thinking like spiritual Soul. We got the movie Soul, like the like afterlife stuff.
Yeah, maybe there aren't any movies that need to be made. Maybe we have enough.
That's it. We're done.
Just stop.
Close up the
industry. Put Jordan out of the job.
No, the big thing is unique voices and unique stories that they don't have the money or backing or like, I'm sorry, but Steven Spielberg, we don't need another film from you. Like James Cameron is working on something.
We do appreciate you giving me work, though. We do appreciate you
as a Jew. But
no, we appreciate him giving me work.
We appreciate you. Sorry, yeah, you're right. Sorry.
What if Steven Spielberg sees this? What if Steven Spielberg sees this?
I'll be shocked. Also, what does it matter? He doesn't care. He's not going to anything I say will not affect anything.
He's just like, Reena Ezra was right. Like, I really need to consider my place in the world and let other filmmakers make films and fund their films instead.
I do feel like
Reena, you want $100 million for your sci-fi idea?
Which doesn't make any sense, because I'm like, Scorsese, keep making stuff. Tarantino's keep making stuff, but it's just Steven Spielberg. Maybe because I didn't like Bagelman as much. That movie was like, but yeah, I will say it's to help people who've been in the industry and have money, help produce other people's stories. People who have any minority who has they just make an impact. They can make an impact, and they can, like Celine Song, great, we're hearing more from, and she's a woman. Like, we're hearing also different things that they're doing with the rom-com category, because that's always a steaming pile of poop until one every 5 years maybe comes around, and you're like, oh, this is something different. But it's how do we get different just different people from different cultures and walks of life having more of their personal stories, because that's where the meat is. That's where like the real.
That's where the juice is worth the squeeze.
That's where the juice is worth the squeeze. That's where all the things that we haven't heard before have been told are in all those. It's the specificity in somebody's life.
Wow. Well, thank you for.
I would say more immigrant family stories too. I can go on.
I know you can, but
that's it.
We are at the end of our episode. Thank you so much, Reena Ezra, for coming on to this podcast.
You're welcome.
I had to beg her to come on.
What?
I was so desperate to have her grace
I think I
our
volunteered.
video podcast. But you could find her
Good.
at Reena Ezra here. Go to Late Night Hump and lnhstudios.com to see sketches by Reena. Our YouTube channel has our sketches from our last few shows, so you can see what she's been writing and cooking on. September 17th, that is going to be your opportunity to see Reena in the flesh. Also, September 27th, Reena is going to be doing improv with her friends at Blind Tiger. I don't think I'm going to be able to make that show, but check her out if you're in the Hudson Valley. And yeah, watch 100 Words if you haven't watched that already. Is there anything else people should look out for coming from you?
No.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. We'll be back next Wednesday with another episode. Thank you guys for listening. Please share this with people you know. Like or subscribe. We are out.
Bye. Thank you.